I have been reselling part-time since December of 2017 on basically any platform that allows you to sell clothing. But since 2017, the landscape of reselling has changed dramatically. Reselling simply doesn't look the same anymore. So if I were to start reselling in the year 2025, this is how I would do it. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I am a part-time reseller, and what that means is when I'm not busy with my full-time job teaching high school choir or raising my 2 kids, I am selling clothes online and I am documenting my journey on this YouTube channel. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to learn more about reselling, especially from the perspective of a part-time reseller, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button so that YouTube encourages you to watch more of my videos in the near future. But in today's video, we're going to talk about how I would get started with reselling if I were to get started right now, because it is really different. It's not the same as when I started in 2017. So I have 11 different tips for you, 11 ways that I would start reselling if I were to start in the year 2025. The first thing that I would say is just start. I think that nowadays there are so many people who are experts at anything. If you name a topic, there are so many experts on that topic. And that's because the internet has been around for a while. People have been able to level up and build these big platforms on social media and stuff. And everywhere you look, no matter what the topic, there are 100 experts on that topic. And sometimes I think that it makes us feel like we don't have permission to start something because we're not an expert at that thing. But how do you think those experts got to be where they're at? At some point, they also had to just start. They had to start at the very beginning and they had to learn everything that they now know. And what they did that is different from where you're at is they just did that thing for years to become the expert. You're just at a different part of your journey than them. I think too many people are paralyzed by fear and they think that they have to know everything that there is to know about the thing before they're allowed to begin the thing. I say, just start. Even if you're like, but I don't know how to list. Just start. If you're like, I don't even know if this is a good brand, just list it. Like, just take the pair of jeans that have been sitting on the ground of your closet because they're too small on you and snap some pictures of them, try to figure out how to get it listed on a platform and just see what happens. Chances are the first few times that you do it, each listing is going to take you like close to an hour and you're going to be like, this is awful. Like, why is this taking me so long? But what happens is with every time that you do it, with every rep, you get better, you get faster, you get more confident, and the more you do it, the closer you get to being one of those experts because you put the time in and you learned how to do the dang thing. So yeah, it would be awesome if you could like learn all of the brand names that you need to know and all of the styles. And if you already have like bins set up for your inventory, and if you already have like your bookkeeping in place, and if you know all of the tips for all of the platforms, like of course it would be amazing if you could have all of that information and then start. But the truth is, the best way to learn that stuff is to learn it as you go. My second tip is while you are just getting started, like just look around your house and throw things up on the internet. While that's happening, also use the time maybe while you're in the car, driving your kids from one place to another, or while you're cooking dinner, or while you're in the shower. Use that time to soak in as much information as you can about reselling. There is so much free inventory online, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Reddit, on Facebook, like literally anywhere you go. If you search reselling, you will find so much information about it. The hard piece is you do have to comb through a lot of like bad advice or bad information or just like people who are kind of icky or just, I don't know, there's a lot that you have to kind of sift through to get to the good stuff. But man, is there a lot of good stuff out there. There are a lot of people sharing their experiences very openly and honestly. And the truth is, resellers cannot help but brag about things that they're doing well at. So like if a reseller finds a really good brand and sells it for good money, you better believe they're going to be posting about that on their Instagram. Or if a reseller has a really great week because they figured out this new tip about this platform, you better believe they are going to share about that on their YouTube channel because they're excited about it and they want to share it with the world. I learned like 99% of what I know just from free information that I got online when it comes to reselling. Now, if you want a more handheld approach and you want someone to really walk you through it, my best advice to you would be find one of the greats, like find people who are for real doing reselling well and let them be the ones to mentor you. Obviously, I'm going to recommend people like Kaylee Elaine and Trash Pandas. They have something called Resellers Edge University, and that's what they do. Like they have a course where they talk you through from the basics of reselling to like, oh, you want to make $10,000 a month? Like, here's how you do it. And everything that you need to know in between, they've got you, and they do it through a lot of different forms. They've got, a traditional course type thing online, but they also have live calls. They have a Facebook group. There are lots of different ways to learn within the Resellers Edge University program. And if you want more of a handheld approach that you're willing to pay monthly for, that is a great option. But man, can you learn so much for free as well. My third tip would be, as you're learning, pay more attention to styles and trends than brands. And this is so different, I would say, than when I first started reselling in 2017. Honestly, at that time, it was all about brand. And you still had to kind of know like what was trendy and all that kind of stuff too. Like you had to know enough to be like, oh, this is a good brand, but this is from like 8 years ago, so it may not do very well. But in general, brand was king back in the day. And I think that there is this shift happening now where even if you find something and the brand is kind of whatever, that thing could still go for good money if it perfectly fits a trend that's really popular right now, or an aesthetic, or a core, they like to call it. Like cores were not a thing in December of 2017. Like there was no such thing as like cottage core or ballet core or goth core. Like that was not a thing. It is very much a thing right now. And it's, I would say, more important to learn about that stuff than it is what brands are popular. Because the truth is, lately, I have sold lots of things where the brand name is whatever. Like sometimes it's a brand that I don't even know. Like, it's just a random one-off brand, but it sells really well because of the fact that it is perfectly, coquette or perfectly cottagecore or perfectly whatever, So I think nowadays, if you're going to invest your time learning about something, learn more about what is trending and what is in style right now versus just what the hot brands are. Obviously, if you can, you should know both. But if you had to pick one, I think right now, trends and style is king. My fourth tip would be to make a list of all of the places where you could possibly get inventory. I'm talking all of your local thrift stores, all of your local consignment stores, buy, sell, trade stores. Maybe you've got, the bins like Goodwill Outlet near your area, or even like some Salvation Armies have something like the bins. That's like the Salvation Army equivalent of it. Look up any pop-up sales that happen. Look up any flea markets or vintage shops, community-wide garage sales. And what I would do too is once you find out about all of these places, I would follow them all on social media, because if they have any sort of sales, that's where they're going to post about them. And I would, throughout the course of the year, at least pop into these different places once. Even if from the outside you're like, there's no way I'm going to find anything good here. Sometimes the most unassuming places have the best stuff. So I remember when I first started reselling, there's this mall in my town. I don't even know why they call it a mall. I mean, structurally, it's a mall, but there is not one like chain store in that mall. There's no Claire's, there's no Hot Topic, there's no Auntie Anne's. It's all like local mom and pop shops. It used to be, I think, like a bona fide mall. There was like a Von Maur in there and stuff, but like literally it's a ghost town in there. Like they literally have like the winter farmers market inside this mall because there's not much else happening. But I remember there used to be this tiny little thrift store at this mall. And the thrift store was run by a center that raised money for women who faced domestic abuse. And so, you felt good about purchasing from them because you knew exactly where that money was going and who it was helping. And furthermore, even though this space was tiny, I found some of my best stuff there. And I think it's because it's in the town that I teach in, actually, which is literally the town over. It's kind of like I don't know, like the demographics is like just very hippie and like grassroots, like very liberal. And I feel like a lot of the clothing that you would find in that store reflected that. So there'd be a lot of like outdoorsy brands like the North Face, and like I think I've found like Patagonia there before, and just randomly nice things. Also, it's a town where like a lot of the professors live for the U of I, which is a university right by where I live. So sometimes there'd be really great like career wear pieces, like theory and stuff. And a lot of times this place would have fill a bag sales where they'd have like these canvas bags and you could fill them for $25 and you could get so much good stuff. And so I follow them on social media. I always knew when these sales were. I was there every time that fill a bag sale happened. Sadly, that thrift store shut down like, I don't know, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, but it was great. And that's why I think it's important to make sure that you sit down and Google thrift stores in and put your city name, or even like thrift stores in and put the city name next to yours, or even, just any city within like a 30-minute radius, however far you're willing to travel out, see where all of your sourcing opportunities are, try all of them. And you're going to very quickly start to figure out which ones have the best stuff. And also, like I said, if you're following them on social media, then hopefully you can also be alerted as to when you can get the best deals at each place. My 5th tip would be to be the best customer ever. Make it so that when you walk in, the employees are excited to see you. And what I mean by being a good customer is like generally just don't be a jerk, like say hi. Don't be that person that leaves like 12 things in the fitting room or is just rude to other customers. Like if you're flipping through the racks and something falls off a hanger, like pick it up off the floor and put it back on the hanger. Maybe even like as you're flipping through the rack, if you see something on the floor that you didn't put there, but it was just there, like pick it up and put it on the hanger that it's supposed to go on. When you are waiting in line to check out, like take all of the hangers off and just make things easier for, the cashier. There are lots of ways to be a good customer. And I do think that good customers are so rare that you will stand out and you will be remembered for it. There are 2 consignment stores in my town that I go to pretty frequently. And like all of the people there know me. Like they all know me. They all know what I do. And one store in particular, I spend so much money there and am, I think, like a really good customer that I actually went there the other day with my mom and my mother-in-law, and we went straight to the sales section and we're shopping. I brought some stuff over to the counter and I asked very nicely if I could, just keep some stuff there so that my arms would be free and I could shop for more stuff. And the manager was behind the register and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even see you come in." She's like, "Are you shopping sales stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay, if you're shopping sales stuff, like, are you guys going to be here much longer? Because our racks are so full. Can I pull more stuff for you that I'm going to put on sale and you'll get first dibs at it? And instead of getting 70% off of the sale stuff, which is, the sale that they were running was 70% off of sale items. She was like, "What if we just throw things in garbage bags and you just pay $50 for a bag?" That is the deal that she did for me way back during shelter in place during COVID, when I had reached out about, "Hey, can we figure out a way where I can shop safely by myself in your location so that I can still get some inventory and you can still make some money off of your inventory that you have?" And that was what we did, was I would just fill shopping bags and they would charge me by the bag. And she was like, "Do you mind if I, pull some things from these racks? They're just so full and I'd love to lighten them up. And you can look through the stuff that I pull to see if you want any of that. And if so, we'll fill some bags and you can get a great discount." And I was like, "Absolutely." So I walked home that day with 5 bags of clothing that should have cost probably like $500 or $600, but I got it for so cheap because I'm a good customer and I'm memorable. I spend a lot of money with them. That part you don't have to do, but just be a good customer. Strike up a conversation with the employees when you can. Just be pleasant and it can lead to really good things. My 6th tip is that most places like thrift stores, consignment stores, buy-sell trade stores, they will heavily discount items at the end of the season. So come like February, March, you're going to see a ton of like winter coats, winter boots, sweaters, all that kind of stuff is going to go on deep, deep, deep discount because stores do not want to hold on to that stuff for a whole nother year. And chances are they're actually not even going to. At that point, they are going to get rid of that stuff. Usually they will donate it to like, a local charity or a thrift store or something like that. And before they do that, they want one last opportunity to make as much money off of those items as possible. And that's where you come in. That's where you can get stuff for so cheap. And while you can still list that stuff in like February or March, there's a reason why those stores are letting go of those items so quickly. Personally, what I would do is I would hold on to those items and try to sell them the following year. So if I get winter and fall clothing for really cheap in February and March, I just hold on to them until about like, August, September, and then I start listing that stuff for the fall season. Now, obviously, when you're doing that, you want to make sure you don't get things that are too trendy. You want to get things that are pretty like classic and will stand the test of time, because you don't want to invest money into something that no one's actually going to want a few months later. But typically I find with like coats and boots, things like that, if I'm sticking to classic styles, those will carry over to the next season. It's fine. And that way I have a surplus of stuff for the fall and winter season, and I didn't have to buy them at a premium. My 7th tip would be, don't spend too much time and energy on packaging. Let me explain by telling you what I did when it comes to packaging when I first started reselling. So when I first started reselling in December of 2017, every time someone made a purchase, I would wrap the item in tissue paper like it was a present. I would have a handwritten card, and it wasn't just like, dear blah, 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 thank you, and like sign my name. It was like, I would explain the history of the piece, or like, I don't know, like I just did too much on these cards. Okay, I wrote a lot on the cards, and then I would put a piece of candy in. So like, because I started reselling in December, I put like a candy cane in, and then I think I did like Airheads or something. Like, I don't know, like I did too much. And the truth is, when people are buying clothing from you online, 99.9% of those people, they just want the clothes that they purchased in the condition that it was advertised. That's like literally all that they care about. They don't need any of that other stuff. And in fact, some people will actually get upset with what they view as waste in their packaging. They just need the item. And it saves a lot of time and energy not to do all the extra stuff. Says the girl who still handwrites, thank you on cards. But that's because I do think it's worth it to do like a little extra touch still. Even that, people are like, why do you still do that? And I don't know. Like, I think it's okay to do like one little thing. Like, yes, a thank you card is nice, but it could be pre-printed, I guess. I'm a little extra. The 8th piece of advice that I have is, do not lose sight of the other parts of your life when you start reselling. I am such an all or nothing type of person, and I go so deep into the rabbit holes, I lose sight of everything else. And when I first started reselling, I just completely let go of my health and things like sleep and things like friends. Like, I just wanted to spend all day, every day doing reseller type things because it was so fun to me. It was so fun to make a sale and make money and see that money hit my bank account, especially because I'm a teacher, my husband's a teacher. Like, we really truly were living paycheck to paycheck, and every dollar helped, and it was just so addicting.
I could stop whenever I want. These are just choices.
This is why I cannot try drugs, because I have a very addictive personality, and it was addicting in the best way possible, but I really lost sight of all of the other parts of my life. And so my tip would be, allow yourself a specific amount of time per day to invest in reselling at the beginning. Maybe it's only an hour. Maybe you say, I will let myself resell for an hour, and that includes sourcing, that includes shipping, that includes listing. And once you hit that time mark, you're done. You're done. And now you got to go live the other parts of your life, because those things are important too. At some point when you decide, okay, this is serious and I'm going to scale this, you can start increasing your time limit, but don't let it take over your life, because hopefully the reason why you want to start reselling in the first place is to enhance your life, is to have more money to do things like, have money for your car payment, or to allow your kids to take those piano lessons that they want, or whatever it is, but you don't want it to take over your life. My 9th piece of advice would be to start with the platform that makes the most sense for you. And what I mean by that is there a platform that you already shop on or that you're familiar with? For example, if you already are a Depop girly and you get a lot of stuff on Depop, you should start selling on Depop. Even though everyone, including myself, will say to you like, oh, you really should start with eBay because it has the biggest audience. If you already are well-versed in Depop, why wouldn't you start there? If you're a customer on Depop, you already know the platform so intimately and you kind of know like what you expect from listings, from pictures, from buyers, and it's going to be really easy to figure out Depop. If you're already someone who buys from Depop, sell on Depop and you can do really great over there. Lots of people do. If you're the type of person that wants to sell a little bit of everything, like you've got some clothes and you've got some collectibles and you've got some like pots and pans, or if you're that type of person where just selling one thing is boring to you, then you probably want to start with like an eBay or a Mercari, something where you are going to be able to sell all of those things very easily. I would personally recommend starting with one because every platform is so different. Every platform comes with its own culture and its own way of doing things. I would master one platform before moving on to others and adding others to your plate, but start with the one that feels like the most natural fit for you. Even if other people are like, what's wrong with you? Why are you starting with that platform? My 10th piece of advice is to expect mistakes. You're going to make a ton of them, and you have to start this journey with a lot of grace for yourself, and you have to start this journey with an abundance of grace for yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to feel so defeated and like such a loser, like loser. There are going to be things that you spend money on to resell and you'll actually lose money on that sale because it's not as good as you thought it was, or because you get it home and there's a huge flaw. There are going to be times that you sell something and when you go to ship it, you realize at that moment that there's a huge flaw. Or there are going to be times that you go to sell something and you cannot find it anywhere in your house. It has grown legs and walked out the door. There are going to be things that happen. And rather than beating yourself up over it, you just have to remind yourself, hey, I knew this was coming. I knew I was going to make some mistakes. This is how I learn from it and make sure that it doesn't happen again. My last mistake is to start bookkeeping from the very beginning. Keep track of every single penny that you spend on the business, whether it's more so on like the supplies end of things like shipping supplies, things like IKEA bags. I don't know, I'm just making up stuff right now, like light boxes. I'm just looking around my reselling space to see what I have spent money on. Garment racks, even things like gas to get from your home to the thrift store. Keep track of every penny that you spend on those kinds of things. And then especially on inventory, on each item, like how much did you spend on that item? And then when that item sells, check to see, did you make money on that sale or did you lose money? If you are not making money, you don't really have a business, you've got a hobby. You want to make sure that this reselling thing that you are putting a lot of energy and effort into is actually making you money. Otherwise, I'm sorry if this is hard to hear, but otherwise, it's a huge, colossal waste of time. So those are the 11 things that I would tell myself if I were to start reselling in 2025. Those are the things when I look back, I'm like, man, some of these things have changed, or I wish I had known these things when I first started. I wish I had started those things from the beginning instead of having to figure them out way later and enduring a lot of heartbreak as a result. I hope that some of these tips were helpful for you. If so, let me know down in the comments which one. And if you did enjoy this video, definitely make sure to watch this one next because it talks about my top reselling lessons that I learned in the year 2024. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.